and I just suddenly turn to it without warning. I don't make an artist state with it. I just get in there and I sit down with my diary and I start writing.
You're a passionate creative, and so are we. Join me, Brie Stockwell, and my podcast partner, Len Metcalf, as we navigate the ups and downs of living creative lives while teaching you how to do it too. Time to pull back the curtain on our creative affair.
I can never remember where we should start, Brie.
We start like this. Hey, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Today, we're going to talk about journaling. This is the third part. This is the last of our 3-part series about writing. And so I'm excited. We're like all relaxed because we're all caught up with what's happening in each other's lives. And so now we're ready to talk to you. I have to tell you, I want to start by talking about something that's may or may not be art like related, but it is more of like a journaling thing. And a friend of mine, she's also a coach, introduced me to this app. I'll put a link to it in the comments, or in the description. But it's called Warrior or Wake Up Warrior. Anyway, there's stuff that's a little bit more Christian oriented on there, but there's some really great things that like there's prompts. Why I'm mentioning this is because there's journal prompts on there. There's ways you can, if you're feeling happy, you can do like an entry on happiness. You can do an entry on gratitude. You can do an entry on like irritation or anger, like whatever you're feeling, you can just write it. And I think it's a really great way to have a sort of a journal entry facilitated for you. Like I'm kind of enjoying, I've never done like guided journal entries, but I'm actually really enjoying the process of being guided through it. You know, I'm thinking through how I feel and what's happening around me and what I want to do with it, and what not just what I want to do with it, not just now, but like extending into the future. And maybe that's not the idea that you had when we were talking about journaling, Len, but I think that it like something that's guided can actually be really helpful. So I think that could be a great place to start.
It sounds amazing. What sort of prompts that spoke to you that they suggested that?
Well, one of the things they ask is they ask what story you're telling yourself about this emotion. And I'm like, yeah, what story am I telling myself? I mean, like, what's going on behind the scenes, you know? And I like that. Like, what is that about? It sort of invites me to think a little bit deeper. There's some other ones, and I've only been doing it maybe just for last week, like maybe 4 times I've done it. And so I don't have all those journal prompts like memorized, but I would imagine that there are journals out there that, or even specifically like journals geared towards creatives or artists that would give you journal prompts, you know, and you could even do this for yourself, right? Like you could ask yourself, like, why was I feeling whatever? I mean, you know, there's so many different, I bet, oh, wait, you could go onto ChatGPT and ask it to give you a whole bunch of journal prompts.
You definitely could. I was interesting about it. It's totally interesting about the story that we tell ourselves, because our feelings are feelings, and we actually so often create the story around them to explain them, and often the story is not even right. I don't know if you do that, but I've been noticing this in myself quite regularly recently, that the feelings down low and it's starting to grow, and that's when you really want to deal with it, not till it builds up till it gets to a 10 and you're exploding or whatever. But w- we imagine and we create this little story about what's causing it. And often uh, the story actually isn't true. It's something that we've made up. And the feeling is just a feeling that we needed to sit through and work through without creating this huge story around what it meant. And yeah, the stories that we tell ourselves are so important to try to understand and to address. I think art is a really beautiful tool to this.
Yeah, I think so too. And the thing about the story part is that it's all made up, all of it. Because if we're telling a story about something, we're telling a story about like a fact or something that's happening in our lives. Like we're going to say, I feel this emotion because, right? And we just make it up. Like whether or not, like today, I wrote one down. What was my feeling? Oh, I did like a gratitude one, right? And I felt gratitude, but it's a story that I'm just telling myself. Like it's a really, it feels like a really positive one, but it's still all made up. And so that's actually what's really fun about doing this kind of work is we do get to know when we journal, we get to know ourselves better.
I'm giggling here. I was thinking of that quote. If you want to be a better artist, um, be a better person, or be a more interesting person.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
the more we turn inwardly and understand who we are, the better our art becomes. So the more we engage in it in that really deep, introspective, and personal way, uh, the more it grows and the better it gets. I really believe this, and journaling is one of these tools that is so valuable in this process because uh, we can put out these different options. Like we've got things that are rising up, we can explore all the different stories, and it doesn't have to be one story. And
Right.
a feeling doesn't actually have to have a specific word. Like it's a chemical running through your body, isn't it? Often it's a it's it's something that is hard to put words around, and yeah, it's an interesting thing.
I describe emotions as just as sensations in our body. And so whether or not because like excitement and nervousness feel very similar, right? And so we could put a word to it if we wanted to. But really it's just the word is helping you notice what's happening physically for you. One of the reasons, oh shoot, you said
Isn't
something
that, hey,
and
before you go on? No, before you
yeah,
go
yeah,
on,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
you just said yes. You said one and the other is similar. We often have these two feelings, um, but actually, like very opposing ones.
Mhm.
Um, but actually, deep down, it's the same chemical that's running through us, or the same feeling inside us, and yet we have um, two very opposing things that are happening with it. So I wanted to explore that a little bit because that just made me jump up and go, yes, yes, yes. That's one of our problems because we go down the wrong path thinking that it's anxiousness and it's actually enjoyment, or you know, your take on that, Brie.
Right. Well, it has to do with the story you're telling yourself about what those, like, whatever's happening in
Ah,
your body.
exactly. We're talking about story making.
Yeah, right. Like that's totally what it is whatever story you're telling yourself, you know, about however you're feeling physically. The thing is though, until you can pick apart, like really take time to notice what's happening, like it takes hang on a second. It's harder to do that in real time unless you're more practiced at it. And so that's where I really think that journaling and writing about yourself, about all kinds of things, is really important to actually all of our creative work because then we understand more about ourselves, right? And I know what I was going to say is, and you don't know. I'm pointing because I feel very strongly about this. You
Are you
don't
pointing at
know
me or at the microphone?
the people listening, right? Like I'm pointing at y'all. We all don't know how powerful the writing is and how powerful the work is until you go to do it, until you've had experience really getting in there to explore. And so if you haven't done a lot of journaling and you feel called to do it, go do it because or even just take some time and try, do 5 days in a row or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to look, we can talk about what journaling for us looks like in a minute, but you don't know its power until you go to do it. And I think it would be a real shame actually for people to dismiss it because they think it's not going to be important for them. And I just think it's totally is. I do my journaling differently than you do your journaling. Len, I can't remember my dreams. If I remember my dreams, I think about them for a minute and then they're gone. I know you have a dream journal, you write those things down. So we all decide what's important to us. But the fact is that the thing is it's so important no matter what, no matter how we do it, that we just go and do it. Even if it's making voice notes on a phone like I do when I'm walking. So.
I was thinking about emotions while you're talking about that and how they escalate and keep going, and you feel like you're on an escalator. And an escalator or a set of stairs is a really beautiful metaphor because we can get off it and we can step up and step back down and play with that. Like, do we continue to go further and further into this and or not? And the more we understand ourselves, the better or easier it is to get off and to start dealing with things. And a really beautiful metaphor for this is, how do you fix a really, really bad migraine? And the answer is it's virtually impossible to knock out a really, really bad migraine. But the secret is the first moment that you feel it coming is to address it right then and take yourself out and, dark room and, all this self-care and started taking the medications at that moment and stop whatever it's doing that's creating it. Emotions are like that too. The very first inkling that something's starting to happen is the time that you address it before it starts to escalate. And
Unless it's joy and you want it to escalate. So
yes, that's very true. I hadn't thought about that.
I think those kind of emotions are worth also exploring too.
Very much so. I've learnt so much through introspection about myself and uh, through dream analysis and writing them down and thinking about it and this whole discussion that I have with myself and equally the discussions I have with people like you, Brie. And I've learnt so much from you over the years and other people and my students and my listening to things. But it's through the act of writing that I clarify it all and that it becomes understandable and actionable, processable. It, it's it's such a different gateway for ideas to come out of you and materialize that is really quite magical and different to verbal, like we're talking now, or just letting them run through your head. Like the process of putting it down on paper, it's transformative. And, that when we were talking about this series about journaling, we were really trying to encourage people that writing about your art, about yourself, about what's going on, um, it's transformative in the most powerful, beautiful way, just like art is and like taking photographs is, that it's an incredibly special teaching experience.
I one of the things that I love to do is that I feel like is transformative for me is write a list of all the things. I know this is going to sound silly, all the things I want, because it gives me a lot of clarity. Like, what do I want for my art? What do I want for my life? And um, I even think journaling could just be that, like a list of things I want or want to have happen. There's so many ways to do this.
How do you use these lists of positive and things that you want? Is it a manifestation, do you think? Are you manifesting what you want into the future?
Maybe. I think
Is it more
words,
perfunctory? Is it like much more directed about um, keeping you focused on where your work is today?
I think it's some of both. And so I think for me, the whole reason that I write and the whole reason that I journal is to have clarity. And so when I have a lot of thoughts going through my head, I can write all of those down and just get clear on what's happening there. But also I don't have to believe any of it. Like I can pick through it and decide like, oh, I really like that. Or why did that come out? I want to explore that. Let me think on that. And then I can write more about it tomorrow. Um, if it's a list like things that I want or like a list of I want, it's more of like, what are all the things I want or that I think I want? And when it all comes out, then I can make decisions about oh, I've done this before. I'm like crossed a bunch of stuff off. No, I actually don't really want that. I just thought I did. Right. Or I can actually decide to, I can put some of them in a someday maybe list and think about them. And then there's going to be probably a lot of times when I write these, there's going to be one or two that rise to the top. It's like, yes. And you feel that too. Like we talked about emotions a minute ago, you feel very strongly, yes, I want to do that. And so I don't actually love the word manifesting. It feels a little bit more, I just had this conversation actually like a week ago. It feels more passive to me. I like the word creating instead, because that there is a portion of manifesting in the creation process, but the whole creating is from start to finish, from when I think of it to when it becomes a thing. And there's things that I do in between then. I don't know. It's just my funny brain. I don't love it. 'Cause I don't love the word manifesting because it feels more passive. But
Does that feel too woo woo for you or something?
yeah, maybe that too. Why can't I just create everything? Actually, no. I know what it is. Creating things makes me feel more powerful. Thinking about how I create things and bring them into my own reality actually feels a lot more powerful to me. And so I love to use that word instead.
So
So
you're anchoring that your own part in the process of making what what you are wanting into it by saying it that way.
yeah, right. And I'm sure manifestation works the same way. Like, I think a lot of us think of manifestation as the same as like creating it. I just like the word create better. Like, I create art. I'm a creative. It's inherent. It's like inside me to create things. And so, I can use my journaling as a way to decide what I want to create or to see what's really underneath the things that I'm doing or to check out if some of the things I'm doing, I want to keep doing. Like, what am I creating with what I'm currently doing? And I just think words have power. Words have a lot of power. And so if we can if we can write and pick through what we want to keep, I think that's really important. So, how do you journal, Len?
I have journals everywhere. At my desk here, there's three just sitting here. I look over my shoulder. I've got a row of old ones sitting up there. I go to my bedroom. There's one beside the bed. There's one in the cupboard. There's one over there. Um, there's one in my travel bag. There's one in my camera bag. There's like I carry something, paper and I carry a pencil and a pen to write, no matter where I'm going and what I'm doing. And then the moments that I don't, I have them in my phone as well. I have them in my Evernote. I have these little journals in there. That side is really, really messy. And Bree, I need to learn how to organize my digital life a bit better. And you can just hear through me talking that there's these journals randomly everywhere, but some of them are very, very specific. So there is a different one that's the dream journal, and I try to put the dreams in there, and that doesn't always happen. I grab whatever's closest, if that one's not there, but I try to take that with me when I'm traveling, and if there is an important dream, it goes into the dream journal, and if I'm going to a workshop, I put all the notes into workshop ones that so that I can easily go back and refer to them. Like I was an experiential educator for many years. I have a whole journal just for games and activities that I can use to teach people. So it's like a teaching resource, and everything goes into there. And then I have the ones that I draw in, and it was the drawing practice uh, was really where I got started. And the keeping the dreams was also taught to me at art school.
That's
Like I go
interesting.
back even earlier. I've got the Dear Diary one from when I was about 10 or 12, but it really started around this practice of carrying a visual diary with me. Well, it was just a journal or a sketchbook and putting everything into it. And I started putting notes of classes into there and drawings and ideas and sticking photos in there. And it just kept growing that way. And it's become a lifelong practice, and I don't read them all. And I find this is really interesting and fascinating that I don't need to. The act of writing stuff down clarifies things in my brain,
Mhm.
and it also becomes a memory. So it was really interesting listening to Huberman about memories and studying a few weeks ago, because he did a whole podcast on how to learn. And you have to create the story in your mind by repeating it over and over to make it a memory, right? So memories have to be refreshed to become stronger and to live in there. So the act of writing it down is creating a longer lasting memory. And it's not only by doing it physically. So something must be happening with your fingers as you're doing the writing, but you're seeing it visually as well. So you actually have a visual memory of it too.
That's what
So
happens for me.
just by
Mhm.
just by writing it down, I've increased my memory of it. Like I
Yes.
write my shopping list and then I go to the shops, I don't need it. But the act of writing it gets me sorted to know what to buy when I get there.
I still need the
I don't
list.
always do that.
I still need the
take it.
freaking list. So, one of the things that I thought while you were talking, and one of the things that I've had a lot of judgment on myself about is how often I do this stuff. And here's what I want to say is we don't have to journal every single day. There's no 100%, there's no perfection, there's no there's no expectation on how many times or how often you have to do it in order for it to be helpful for you. And so I mean, if you want to do it more, you'll just get to know yourself better and you'll get to know your art better. That's all. But I don't think that anyone should, like, unless you want to get in the habit of it and you want to like make a schedule for yourself, I don't think that anyone has to feel like they have to do it every single day. You could do it one day a month. You could literally write down, you could literally do this on the first of every month. And then the next first of the next month, you can go back and read what you wrote and then do new ones, right? And so, or you can just do it when it comes to you. Or you can put your journal in a place where it's convenient and, you know, when the feeling, you know, when it feels right, you can just pick it up. I just think there's so many ways to do this that you don't need to expect yourself to be like super performative about it, right? I don't think, Len, I don't think either of us feel that way. Maybe this is why I have a problem with Julia Cameron's morning pages. I'm like, I have to write 3 pages of things every day. That makes me crazy. I
Every
can't.
morning.
Every morning. Do you know how long that would take me?
First thing.
I have other things to do.
I want to talk about that for a moment too, because she's very prescriptive about the 3 pages every morning, first thing in the morning. And there's a lot of stuff going around the pop psychology at the moment saying that, for peak performance, you do this at this particular time of day. And I study a lot of really interesting things about our ancestors, pre humans, pre industrialization. And when we lived in small groups in caves and, you know, as very primitive groups, over a period of about a month, there would only be about 5 minutes when every single person in the group was asleep. So different people were awake at different times of the night and the day and having their sleeps at all different times so that throughout a 24-hour clock, someone was already always awake to make sure there was no danger coming. And the point of this little story is that um, being told that we have to get up and at 4 o'clock in the morning and get up and do our 3 pages of morning pages doesn't suit all of us. That some of us work randomly, some of us it takes us hours to wake up and we're really grumpy in the morning, and some of us wake up and we're full on going and we're energizer bunnies in the morning.
And we don't have time to do 3 pages.
Yeah, we're all really, really different. And it's like art, and we keep talking about this. You have to find what works for you and how it works for you. And having 20 diaries is probably way overwhelming, too overwhelming for so many people. But it works for me, and I'm happy with it, and I'm so pleased, and I use it, and I just suddenly turn to it without warning. I don't make an artist state with it. I just get in there and I sit down with my diary and I start writing. And I don't know when it's going to happen. But I do know that it's worth telling you how valuable that process is for me for dealing with who I am and understanding uh, how to be a better person, which makes better art, and to be more at peace with myself. And I think this a personal growth journey is very much part of being an artist.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I totally respect Julia Cameron for being so adamant in her philosophy. Like, if you are going to write a whole book about how things need to be, then, I think you want to be very she's very passionate about it, and I don't see how that's a bad quality. So, I think it's great. It's just not for me. It's just for other people. But I do think I agree. So I do agree with you, Len. This is a really important thing to do. And so whether you do it sporadically or whether you do it on the regular, I just go do it. You can get blank pieces of paper. You can get paper with lines. You get paper with grids. You can do it on a notebook, or you can do it on your phone. You can make voice memos. You can buy a journal, a special journal that has prompts for you. You can do it on odd days. You can do it on even days. You can, whenever, right? But just go do it. Go get to know yourself better in those quiet, still parts of your day where it's just you connecting with yourself and who you really are, and all the things that you think about, like that you truly think about, that you truly want to make or bring into reality. And I just think that that's what's important about it, that we actually go do it and connect.
Mm. If you need a pattern, you need a diary to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it randomly, do it randomly. If you need to go and do it in nature, do that. I think, do Do you need to do it in a coffee shop? Do you need to have
Maybe.
music playing or not? Do you do it on a train? I don't know. Um, you have to figure out where it works for you.
Yeah. But just go do that. Go write. Go write about yourself. Go write about your art. And just go write. Connect with you. That's what's important. I really love that this is how we ended this 3-part series about writing, because I feel like we've gone from like writing artist statements, which is kind of like an overarching thing, to writing about more specific art, or writing more about our art in general, like whether we're writing blogs or articles or whatever, just writing, down to a very, very personal thing, which is writing to discover more of who we are. And all of those things are important, but I think actually this last one is the most. So, which is why it's fun to end on it.
It's a lovely place to end, and we've covered so much ground in these last 3 episodes, and yeah, I'm really pleased.
Same. So, I guess this is the time where we say goodbye to everyone.
We'll see you all next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Am I saying that right? Have I got the right American accent?
Yeah,
there,
you've got the y'all down.
I've got the Texan bit. Is it Texan or is it from somewhere else?
It's just Southern. Make it a little more twangy.
Southern.
Y'all. Try
twangy.
y'all.
Y'all.
You got it.
Y'all. I'll have to start having to teach you Australian.
What do you say when you say goodbye?
Good day.
Good day. No.
Goodbye, mate.
Goodbye, mate.
Goodbye. I don't know what I say.
See?
I don't have a very Australian accent, I don't think. So I'll have to actually often we say see you around. I don't know. There's probably hundreds. I'll have to do a bit of research on that.
Mm-hmm. In Germany, they say choose. So that's it. Adios. Ciao. Choose.
Bye all.
Bye. Well, wasn't that fun? As we close another episode of A Creative Affair, would you click on your podcast player and leave us a 5-star review and share with another passionate creative like yourself? Thanks. To find out more about our creative work and mentoring, visit Len at lenschool.com or me, Brie, at creativemindscoach.com.